guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We have an incredible guest joining us for Storytelling Mastery, the one and only, absolutely legendary, certified badass of branding, Wendy Forsythe.
I like badass of branding. Can that be like a hashtag?
You just diving right in. Wendy, today we are living in a digital world. Seems like most of our communications are happening through the cloud, eXp being cloud-based, we kind of pioneered that. But in general, we're seeing social connections happen digitally. So how are top agents using storytelling on social media to create real connections and build trust with their audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think many of you that I know that I follow on social are doing this every single day. And that is, you're telling your story on social media every single day. You're sharing what you do in your day-to-day, I'm going to say jobs as real estate professionals on social media. And that is the best example and the best type of storytelling that we can do. And it is the best type of an example of demonstrating your value as a real estate professional. And let's face it, our value has been under question, right? And what we do has been under question for the last several years, particularly, with everything that our industry has been going through. But sharing our story and sharing our value through storytelling, through digital, through social media, through digital storytelling is a great way to peel back the superficial part of what people know about our profession, meaning we open up doors, we drive around, we show houses. That's all very superficial. When we peel that back, we know there's a lot of skill and a lot of expertise that is way beyond that our storytelling and our sharing our story allows us. So what I always encourage agents to do is talk more about like what is happening, right? Like beyond the deal, so to speak. So share that story beyond the deal. So without giving away confidential information, of course, without giving away anything that we shouldn't, tell the story, right? So the deal fell apart. How did we put the deal back together? Tell that story out on social media. That is what really interests people, right? You just came out of an inspection and you're still in the car. Turn the phone on, sit in the car. Those are some of the most compelling like stories and reels that we see agents share, is like from the car, walking down the walkway from the house, like you're never going to believe what happened. This is what we saw. Like that is some of the most compelling social content that allows people to build connection and share stories. So, I think we overcomplicate it, right? Especially starting out, we think about how we look. We think about lighting, we think about editing, we think about scripts, we think about all the wrong things. And that holds us back from just turning on the camera and talking. And, I was at Inman Connect last week, so big industry conference. And one of the panels that I spoke on was all about building your digital profile. And one of the gentlemen that I spoke with was, a real estate trainer, and he was he was making it very complicated. He was giving like the 10-point system of this and that, and you use your teleprompter and you have your bullets, and he was giving the audience this whole thing. And I was like, it was my turn to talk, and I was like, guys, like if you need all of that to tell people like what you're doing, like you're probably doing it wrong, right? Because like when we show up, right? When we show up for a showing, we don't have a teleprompter and we don't have a script and we haven't like you should be able to just like talk about like what you do every day. Because like when we're doing an open house and somebody walks in the door, like we better be able to have a conversation with them, right? Like when we go to present an offer, we better be able to present that offer. Like we should have been doing the homework we should have been taking batting practice before we're in front of the client. So like, I think that like that, for me, that's how I approach storytelling. That was a long answer.
That was a great answer, and that's exactly why we want you here. I think more agents really need to hear that element of like, let's keep it real. You don't have to make it perfect. It doesn't have to be professional lighting and like get a camera crew and oh my God, how does my hair look? Like, it doesn't have to be that. I think people are really seeking authenticity more than ever. And that can be hard to find on social media. So I think just my perspective on it would be the people who are showing up authentically are going to be the people that are dominating their social media presence over the next 12 months.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Our second conversation starter, and this one is tricky. We just saw you do the Nicki Minaj challenge, which was incredible. Guys, if you have not seen Wendy's post, go to her Instagram right now and check out our chief marketing officer, a C-suite level representative, going and standing on different, balancing on different, I can't even describe it. Incredible. So Wendy, with that, the question is, we see trends come and go constantly. Social media challenges, trending audios. What is your approach for spotting upcoming trends before they go mainstream?
Well, I don't know if I spotted that one before it went mainstream. I think it's been pretty mainstream, but I thought that was a fun one to jump on. And you know, I don't hop on many of the trends, although it is a great social media hack. So I'm not one, like, you won't see like the dancing, like I'm not a big person for hopping on those. Not that there's anything like wrong with those, but I mean, it is a strategy, right? To take something that is trending and give it your own spin. So if that, you know, if that works for you, I say that it is definitely a social media sort of strategy that you can hop on. If any of you follow, you know, one of our very well-known agents, John Sy, out of Toronto, Vancouver, sorry, I said Toronto, out of Vancouver, Canada. John has built a huge social media following and a tremendous business out of taking social media trends and like relating them back to his real estate business. So he's a great inspiration for doing those sorts of things. So I think that to try to answer the question, you know, we all probably spend more time than we would like to admit scrolling. So we see those things, right, when we're on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is you're scrolling. So use that time to be creative, right? If something jumps out at you and it sparks an idea where you're like, hey, like I see how I could relate this to my business. I think that use that spark of imagination, and don't be scared to like push your comfort zone a little bit. I think that, you know, we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously. Like, I think you can be professional and maintain your professionalism, but still have a little bit of fun. And I think most of our clients, and I view you guys as my client, I mean, you like that, right? Like, you're okay if I'm a little fun and like not taking myself too seriously, while still representing all of you and representing our brand in a professional way, which is something that I have a responsibility to do for all of you. When I'm out there, you know, representing eXp, I'm representing all of you. So we always walk that line sort of very carefully. And I think that you do that in your businesses, right? You're representing yourself, your brand, your clients. So you always want to walk that line very carefully, but have some fun with it. And don't take yourself too seriously when you're thinking of those trends. And yeah, so that you should have saw what you didn't see when I was filming the little clips for those was the people in and around the Inman conference, which is where we filmed that, watching And especially when in front of our eXp booth, I actually like climbed up on the little like high top table that we had in front of our booth, and did that. And homes.com, their booth was like across from ours, and the whole homes.com sales team was there like watching the whole thing, which was super funny. So that was super fun.
I think that's absolutely iconic. And I know I've only filmed in public a couple of times, but it's a little awkward.
It's a little awkward. Yes, we did it early in the morning, but there were still lots of people around. But the Zillow coffee table, which you can't quite see, was like a teacup with a glass top on it that I crawled up on, which we were a little concerned might break. Thank goodness it didn't. So it's a story for sure.
I bring up the trend in that post in particular to say, like, I'm not going to lie, I'm sitting here looking up the notes we've got on it. Wendy, that is one of your best performing videos in recent history. And it was awkward to film, right? You've got a bunch of colleagues staring at you. How do you drown out that noise? How do you overcome that awkwardness? It's tough.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, honestly, we were just laughing the entire time we were doing it. And I mean, people were like so concerned about me, like they were just concerned I was going to fall. And like people were like walking by, like, what is she doing? And a lot of people had no idea what the trend was. So like they were like looking at me, and then like other people were like super impressed that I could actually strike that pose. So I'll take that as like a compliment. So we just had fun with it.
I think that like that having fun with it, that energy, that attitude, I think it shows through in the content. And I think it makes it more relatable, which is kind of what we were talking about earlier. I think when people see you having fun and see you showing up in spite of what was probably like a little awkward, a little funny.
I feel myself blushing just talking about this, you guys. I don't know if that's coming through on the camera, but I literally feel myself blushing having this conversation. You guys are making me blush.
I'm so sorry. Well, then that is a pretty good segue into our next
Pretty good segue.
To our next question. Wendy, now we've talked about trends. What type of content or storytelling formats have you seen that outperform and outlast some of the trends that we see?
So definitely the real, like anything that is real. So straight to camera talking tends to outperform anything. And in fact, I just posted about this yesterday that YouTube made significant changes in July to their monetization policies. If any of you are active on YouTube, they changed their whole algorithm. And even if you're not trying to monetize on YouTube, this applies just to like posting long form on YouTube. YouTube changed their algorithm so that if you are using anything that is fully like AI creative content, or anything that is like slideshow driven or just like photo like done, like they are pushing that down in the algorithm and really de-emphasizing it because they want original content. They want your voice, they want your image. They don't want sort of manufactured content. And this has really answered a question that has been bubbling up, particularly in the last 6 months, around all of the AI generated abilities that technology has given us of late, of like, well, do people even matter in content anymore? I can have my hey gen image, do all of my content. And there's been actually examples of like viral content that's not even a person that looks like a person. If any of you followed along at Wimbledon, there was this like, you know, beautiful lady that did all these things at Wimbledon, and all these videos went viral, and it wasn't even a person. So people were like, maybe we don't even need to do content. We can just create our robot likenesses that can do our content for us. Well, YouTube said no. Like, we want real people doing content, and we're actually going to only monetize. And of course, a lot of like YouTube content creators are doing it for the money, right? So we're only going to pay people who are doing real in-person content. So I think that answers a question for us of where does AI and content fit together? And the answer to that is AI is a tool to help us create content, but it's not a tool to replace us as content creators. It's a content assistant. So use AI as our assistant, but it still means that we have to show up, and that, you know, any content that is talking direct to camera, that is in your voice and in your image, is going to be the best performing content going forward. And that always has been the best performing content. And I think that we'll continue to see that going, going forward. So, I think that will continue to stay that way.
That's a really, really interesting perspective. And I hadn't heard the YouTube thing outright until just very recently, but it makes sense. I feel like, you know, a lot of people do fall for AI thinking that it's real, but I think by and large, people can feel it feels inauthentic at times, especially when it's abused. Yes. Now, Andrew Maloney, aka Mr. Cincinnati, asked a really good question. Is that going to apply to all AI generated content, or do you think it's okay to continue to use tools like Opus to help with editing?
Yeah, they called out some like specifics in like the language that you can use AI editing tools like Opus, and that's going to be okay. You can use sort of voice editing tools, and that will be okay. So if I record a video and I use some editing tools, that's fine. If I do the entire voice with AI, they're going to pick up on that, and they're going to like de-emphasize that. So so if you dig into it, they got very specific on how they're going to, you know, how they're going to use the algorithm to judge that.
Well, I really appreciate that insight, and I know a lot of our folks here at YP do. AI has become such a powerful tool for us that are, you know, trying to become content creators, which seems to be a part of being a real estate agent these days.
Yes, it is.
With that, we've got a lot of folks who are slow to adopt that content creator mentality. It's hard. Mm-hmm. It requires a lot of energy at times, especially for those perfectionists that are just trying to show up. But specifically for the agents who don't feel like they have a big story, what advice would you give them for uncovering their message or their experience that's worth sharing?
So first off, I want to say we all have a big story. Right? So let's start with that. Every one of us has a big story. And I think that once we level set on that, like just start sharing and just lean into sharing your story. And you just move forward from there, and just share like one thing every day. And if you don't want to be on camera yet, that's okay. Share a quote card. Share something about one of your properties that you've listed. Share something about a neighborhood that you work in. Like, just share something each day, and then move from there. And then I guess even before I get to that, I should just go back a step. Decide what platform. If you're just starting out, decide what platform you want to share on. So I think that I call them the big six. So you don't need to be on all of the platforms. So you think of Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, and it's X, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now. I call those sort of the big six, and there are like peripheral others, but we pick the ones that work for you. Did I miss Instagram in that? I think I did mix Instagram as the six on that. So pick the one that pick one to start out with if you're just starting out. If you are a somewhat visual person and you spend your time on Instagram, pick Instagram. If you are more of a Facebook person and you've spent more time on Facebook, start on Facebook. If you are more of a sort of business type and you do, particularly when I'm talking to our commercial advisors, LinkedIn is probably where they start. So you might start on LinkedIn. So pick one that works for you. For some of our agents and advisors who are, former theater background, or they come from that, then they're all in on TikTok. And especially if they really want to be on camera, then they're all in on TikTok. So pick the one that works for you. Then if you're starting out, start with one post a day and decide what that post is going to be. And decide if it's going to be something about a neighborhood, something about something that you're doing in your business, something about you. And whether you want to be on camera, whether you want it to be a still photo, whether you want it to be a quote card, you can, switch them up and do all of those things. And then use Canva. You all have Canva Pro as part of your eXp value proposition. Canva has all kinds of amazing tools in it. Just go into Canva, hit that home button on the left, look at all of those templates, search for whatever you want to do. And then you've got the world of design is at your fingertips there. And it is so easy to pull from and make really beautiful design really quickly. On average, you guys are designing in Canva from starting a brand new design to publishing that design, which in Canva means hitting the download button in 9 minutes is on average. And last quarter in Q2, you guys designed over 500,000 designs. So you guys are Canva power users. Yeah, there's a lot going on in Canva. So go use those things. So that's how I would say, sort of starting out, pick a platform and then commit to posting something at least once a day on that platform. And then you can expand it from there.
I really love that, because I think agents who try to do it all, they try to do TikTok and Instagram and X and Facebook, and they try to do all of it at one time, I think they get burnt out.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard.
Oh, sorry, I'm reading Jackson's question.
Oh, you're quite all right. Let's bump down to what Jackson said.
Jackson thinks Canva is rocket science. So Jackson, we have a Canva toolkit for you. So go check out our Canva toolkit. Canva is really not rocket science. So just go play with it. You can't break it. You won't, the rocket won't explode, I promise. Like I said, go click on the left, go to the home button, go to templates. You'll see all kinds of beautiful templates. Just start around and you'll see that magic will happen, and you'll be really impressed with yourself that before you know it, you'll be creating things where you're wow, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was. If you can fill out a form in your MLS to upload a listing, you can create anything in Canva, I promise you.
I think that's a really good way of putting it, especially because sometimes I feel like an MLS listing form is even harder than Canva. Huh. There's a lot of things in there that you can break, right? A lot of things that can be done incorrectly. Canva, limitless, you can't break it. I think that's probably the best phrasing I've heard for it.
There's a reason I use that as an example.
We've talked about burnout, we've talked about perfectionism, we've talked about doing too much at one time. Those things aside, what's a different mistake you see real estate professionals make when they're trying to build a personal brand or tell their story online?
I think some of the examples you just gave kind of connect to this, but comparison is a mistake that I see a lot of people make. And this was really common a while ago, and I think it's becoming a little less common, but it was particularly common with Instagram. I think when we were all leaning into Instagram really heavy, this was a conversation I was having a lot. And it was comparison around your Instagram grid. And maybe some of you who are active, and I know many of you are active on Instagram, there seems to be this phase we all went through where people were hyper focused on like what your Instagram grid looked like. So there was a lot of like conversations around, well, does my grid look good? And what that means is when you post something, when you go then on Instagram and you look sort of the memory of all your posts, that's what they call your grid. So when people can go into your sort of profile and look and see all of your different posts, and there's a couple different views there. You can see sort of all of your posts, specific to your reels, and then specific to just sort of your like still photo posts. And that's what is called your grid in Instagram. In Facebook, it would be called like your news feed. But in Instagram, you see all of those visuals. And with reels, when you attach a cover image to your reel, that is what shows up on your grid. So people got really hyper focused on like, how does my grid look? What's their person's grid look like? Does their grid look like their brand? And like, really, like, nobody cares what your grid looks like. Like really, like, nobody cares. So, but that like act of comparison. So people were getting really, I think, concerned about posting and their cover images, and does your grid, how does your grid look, and is your grid a representation of your brand? And so I think a lot of energy was going into something that was really a what I call a low return on investment. So people were not worried about the content that they were posting and getting all caught up in this cover image and how it was going to look on this grid and how did people like think about it. So that's just one example of comparison, and how we got really like nuanced in a way that we lost focus on what message and how were we making people feel about our brand in a larger, sort of more holistic perspective, which is, I think, a lot more important. So what I think is way more authentic is when I'm putting myself out there on social media, how do I want people to sort of think about me and engage with me like through every single post? And what is that overarching message? Like for me, I want people to walk away feeling inspired, feeling engaged, feeling like I am somehow trying to give all of you value. And not every post may deliver on all of those things, but that's what I'm trying for. And if you know that when you are like trying to create content, then that becomes sort of your North Star in like, what's the objective here? So if you understand what your objectives are, then that makes it a lot easier to say, am I staying true to my objective? And then it's okay to say, not every post is a 10 out of 10. Like you gotta like post it and let it go and then move on to the next one. It is short term, right? Like these are just short term conversations that you're having with people. And when you think about talking with your friends, you don't hang off every single conversation you have and say, oh, I didn't say the right thing. I didn't say it exactly the way I wanted to say it. I wish I had a do-over on that conversation. I should have said this. I shouldn't have said that. If you start thinking about your social media that way, you're going to drive yourself crazy and you're going to stop doing it. And you're going to just take all of the joy out of it. So you kind of got to like post it and let it go. So those are some of the things that I think about is like stop that comparison. Don't get in the weeds of things and just sort of keep moving forward.
I love that so much. I think we all can kind of look back at the feed obsession. I felt guilty of that while everyone else was talking about it. I was like, my feed is whatever each individual post I felt should look like. My feed wasn't aesthetic.
Yes.
And we just really remember that. Another comment in the chat from Jenny Williams right here in Birmingham, Alabama. She said one mistake was that people were getting too negative on social media, which I think is something we're used to seeing. Jen Roundtree from Florida said comparison is the thief of joy, playing right into what you've just touched on. And I think that really nails it. Now, I know we are already over time. We only had you for 30 minutes. If you could leave us with one more thing, what would you want us to know?
I'd want you to know, first of all, that you are all rock stars. So that I want you to know. I want you to know that you all have big stories. So I'm going to like double down on that message. And I want you to know that, you know, you guys are all the future of leadership. And I would say the last thing you asked for one thing, so I'm not following any rules. So I'm giving you a whole bunch of things, but I definitely want you to know that you're all the future of leadership, and that I loved that a couple of people reached out to me and said, I don't think I'm a young professional, but I want to join anyway. And my response was, I don't think that there's any age limit on being a young professional.
No, there's not. There's really not. And we are a very inclusive group.
I know, and I see like Wade and Cheryl and like, you know, like a few of us. I'm like, we're all hanging on to being young professionals. So like here we are, like we're all young professionals. But in all seriousness, like thank you guys, like young professionals as a resource group here at eXp. You guys like bring such energy and vitality to all of us. We love, you know, just the spirit of all of our one eXp groups, and I'm so excited that we have eXpCon coming up. I know that we've got some really cool things planned as one eXp as a whole, and for the young professionals group. I can't wait for the fun that we're going to have in the expo hall. There were some planning meetings happening yesterday. We had last month on our, I guess it was a couple weeks ago, right, Gracie? I say last month, right? We had a meeting that we were talking about some things. So we got lots of cool stuff in the works. So I hope that I get to see you all in Miami, and we'll look forward to all kinds of good stuff in the future. So reach out anytime. I appreciated Gracie's plug at the beginning. So follow me on social media if you don't already. I'm at Brand Wendy. You'll find my Stand Store link in my profile. I try to put out lots of helpful resources on all things sort of branding and building your own personal brands. So, you know, you can find those there in the Stand Store link. And I'm here to help. So feel free to connect with me and reach out if I can be of any assistance.
Wendy, you are an absolute gem. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure having you. Young Professionals was just so excited to have you. So thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.